Grade A.
Hey, run that thing up.
Nah, but listen to me. The thing is if he shows out in the finals and they still lose, he can still be up there.
The Frenchman up there talking his language. We need to get this stop. No, it's you, and I still.
Grade A.
In the East? Philly zero?
Yeah, can you guys stick around? Can you make it
Hey, run that thing up.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Grade A Show. Whoa, my camera's a little foggy. T-Top Ace, what's good?
Can't
fellas?
see
How y'all
you.
doing, man?
What's good? We here.
Oh, got a lot of fumbling going on, man. All right, I'm back. Anywho, get this camera going. What's good, T? What's good, Ace, man? Everybody, welcome to another episode of the Grade A Show.
We here. What's going on?
We haven't been here in a couple weeks, fellas. Playoffs is here. Finals is about to be here. We got OKC moving on to the NBA Finals, and we still got the Knicks and the Pacers currently battling out right now. Ace, T-Top, it's been a couple weeks, man. How y'all feeling?
It's been an entertaining. I'm good, by the way. Hope y'all doing good. It's been a very entertaining playoffs. Probably one of the most entertaining in the last few years, I would say. Just the run that Indiana's been on, and Halliburton, just seeing that team like as a whole coming through in the clutch in the last couple series. First with the Bucks and then the Cavs, and then pulling off a comeback with the Knicks. I've become a Halliburton fan. I will say that.
I mean, the Knicks have pulled off some comebacks and some clutchness too, T. I don't want to forget that.
Okay, yeah, you got to make sure you don't leave that out.
I mean, you brought it up. Came back from down 23 times in the playoffs. 2 to the Celtics, 1 to the Indiana. Now, honestly, I want to say this. The teams right now that are left they're phasing out the live by the 3, die by the 3. Any team that prided their offense on threes got eliminated. Timberwolves made it the first. Celtics, second round. Warriors got hurt. All that, Cavs, Chicago didn't even make the playoffs. I like with Indiana. Of course, I'm biased. I'm going for New York. But, as a fan of the game, I like how scrappy Indiana is. They're fearless, and they play both sides really well. As we've seen with Cleveland, Milwaukee, and New York, no lead is safe when you have a determined team. They're getting it in the paint, threes, defense. They're doing it the right way, and they have a good rotation. Whereas New York, we're only playing 6.5 guys, maybe 7, depending on the night. And it's
the Knicks have no bench. That's something they got to work on in the offseason.
Even if New York somehow gets to the finals, it's your legs, man. You're going to be drenched.
And to get to the finals, they would have to win the rest of this series. So it's going to be a 7-game series for them.
2 more games.
I was gonna say, Ace, you giving up on the Knicks already?
I'm not giving up on the Knicks. I'm just saying, as a fan of the game, you have to realize all outcomes. Now, before we even get to conference finals, I want to go through round by round. I just want to say 2 things. Ant-Man could beat up on the old heads, but he's scared of his own peers. You could beat down on KD, LeBron, and Steph. When it's coming to SGA, when it's coming to people who's in his age group, his realm, I'm not seeing the same fire. I'm not seeing the same fire that I see against the old heads.
Everybody watching, man, make sure y'all like the channel, subscribe to the channel, man. Nah, it's definitely funny that you bring up that situation. You know, Ant-Man still got some time to grow. I'm not giving that man no excuses, but um, this whole face of the league is like brewing around a little bit too much. I'm not gonna sit here and say I ever believed in Ant-Man being the face of the league or becoming the face of the league because we're still dealing with Stephen Curry and LeBron still here. Um, those things won't change until those guys are gone. But even so, I don't think we're coming. I don't think the Jokic's, the Giannis's, the Ant-Mans, the SGAs are. We got many faces of the league. So when it comes to Ant-Man, I definitely think people needs to pipe that down a little bit when it comes to him.
I'm a
Until
little worried.
he hasn't really accomplished anything yet. So
I mean, this is
I'm-
his second conference finals in 2 years. That's
Western
getting
Conference
the ball-
Finals
that's
back to
getting the
back,
ball-
and
that's getting the ball rolling. My fault, T. I'm just saying I'm not saying go Ant-Man all the way, but the young man he brings that grit to the game where he's not like he's friendly enough to where it's like cool, but then he's competitive enough to be like, yeah, there we go. So I like that balanced
right.
mix. But I just want to get a nod. I want to give a nod. Y'all know I love my Lakers in the West, Dallas, but to get to the second straight Western Conference in 2 years, I give a nod to that. That's all I'm gonna say.
And what I was gonna add to that is that I mean, I don't blame Ant-Man. I think he could be a little aggressive, but I think it's just a team thing. I mean, if you go to Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row, that means you deserve to be there, I think. But I'm just a little worried because they lost in 5 games last year to Dallas and then 5 games this year to OKC. And this was after, you switched out Cat for Randall and, you got Dante DiVincenzo as well. But it's like, what else do you do now to this team to get over that hump next year? You know what I mean? Like, who do you go out and grab? Like, what do you do now?
I want to first say that they're saying that the Julius Randle and Karl Anthony Towns trade might be one of the best equal trades in NBA history because both
That's fair.
teams still made it to the conference finals with both players having a high output. Now, back to what you
That's fair.
said, I had hope with Minnesota. Like I was neutral. However, 5 games is like, come on now. If they would have got to 6 games, then I could see some little competitiveness. Now, when Minnesota won, they blew them up by 40 plus. So I thought they were going to follow up with another game.
No,
I wanna
OKC just decided to take a night off.
Yeah, it's a team aspect, but then, all right, let's say Lakers would have went, right? They would have played Warriors. We could have seen the Warriors playing OKC right now. We know they would have fought to the end. When you losing at 5, it's just like, dude, come on. It's Ant-Man. My fault. Go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead. You good? Ace.
It was some games where Ant-Man or like Randall or Najee, people who've been in the mix all playoffs. You wait to the conference finals to like blow it. Like you not really. And again, I'm not saying I was all OKC or all Minnesota. I just want to see competitive basketball at this level. When we get to the conference finals, I want that type of Clippers and Nuggets series where it's like game 7, like it was like, all right, bet, like who's gonna win? It's entertaining, it's
Facts.
competitive, all of that.
It's when you bring up the whole Rudy Gobert and the Cat transaction with Randall, it did equal out, but at the same time, I think there's a bigger thing when it comes to that because it was just a little weird how OKC. I mean, you see the Nas Reeds, you see with DiVincenzo being over there now. Randall over there. We're thinking about the beginning of the season. Like, damn, Minnesota's looking like they actually
Right.
pretty decent. We seen what Julius Randle was doing the round before they got to OKC, and we're thinking that this series is going to be a little bit more competitive. But what I'm starting to just understand and realize, especially for us, we're in the same age group and stuff like that. The league defensively is just very watered down. We're seeing 140 something points being put up in the playoffs, 130 some points, 120 something points. So it's definitely entertaining, especially from an offensive standpoint. But I just wish we saw a lot more. I wish we saw a lot more fight. I wish we saw a lot more grit. The way that Boston went out, even with Jason Tatum having an injury, it just really felt like they folded over. It really felt like there was no fight and stuff like that. But Yeah, I don't know. Minnesota moving forward, I definitely think there's some changes that got to be made over there. I don't want to soak into them too much because we got to give some respect to what OKC has done this year, especially what the coach has been able to bring to that organization the last couple years. Um, and yeah, I just want to give a big shout out to them. Big shout out to them.
Well,
Let me ask y'all in the past couple of weeks because we haven't been here for a while. Has there been anything, Fernando? What's good, my guy? OKC Thunder is a monster. Yes, sir. Anything in the last couple of weeks that because I know we haven't been here, that's kind of like anything shocking? I know we missed a draft. We got Cooper Flag that might be going to Dallas first pick. Dallas ironically ends up getting the first. They had like a
That's crazy.
1% chance, and they ended up getting the first pick. I don't know. I think there's a little something.
if you look at it, like over the last couple of years, like especially when like AD left, when he left the Pelicans, they got number one. And now, whenever certain stars get moved and traded, they bless the team with the number one pick. I wouldn't be surprised if somehow the number one pick ends up in the Spurs' hands. Popovich is back upstairs now,
Ooh.
full time. Something happened similar when they got David Robinson and Tim Duncan, and then the dynasty just went. I want to say that honestly, shout out to all teams that made the playoffs. However, when it comes to things like Orlando, I don't know how you feel about Orlando. Orlando was hurt majority of the season. They still made it. Next year, what does Philadelphia do? I'm tired of this process thing. I want to give them a fair shot to see what they're going to do. Dallas would have, could have, should have made the play in and was still on like fumes. Losing a talent like Kyrie is definitely not easy.
Facts.
That was right. Fernando
Yeah.
was right.
Just to chime in on that comment real quick, Fernando, I'll let y'all say y'all piece, but I mean, I agree. We've seen this for the past couple of years with Boston. Like I said before, the Tatum injury where they shoot themselves in the foot. It's as simple as that. You go out and you're up 20 both games and you want to procrastinate and bullshit. I mean, I was talking to you, Ace, about this the other day. It's kind of impressive. It's good. Like we see Indiana was a 7th seed this year. I think we're coming into a league now where
You were seventh?
I think Indiana was a 7th seed or 6th seed.
Okay. I mean,
I think they were the 6.
It's one of those. We're coming into a league where it's not really starting to matter about seedings. It's whoever's coming with their A game. The thing with Boston is since Tatum and Brown's been there and kind of like evolved a little bit, everybody has known their game to the T. It's the same concept, the same thing every single year. Yeah, we got Brown that got a little bit stronger. Yeah, we had the experience with Ime coming in and giving them kind of like a maturity level to their game a little bit. Mazzulla kind of enhanced that and stuff with being aggressive at the 3 ball. But, you know, at the end of the day, people have figured them out. And I think that's just what it's coming down to.
I want to say it goes back to the comment I made. We had an earlier show, T. I don't know if you was there. Back in like, I don't want to say our day like we're old, but we've seen previous teams where if you dominated the regular season, it carried over to the playoffs. Where certain teams now, they're just regular season teams. They get over to the regular season, they get to the playoffs now, and it's just like all right, we were beating them before. 7 games, I only got to focus on you. I don't got to worry about who I got tomorrow. I just got to dissect you and your game. To your point, the Celtics, not even just the Celtics, other teams do the same stuff. I just feel like when you're up 20 on any level, shooting threes to keep the lead going and the team is coming back and you still doing step backs, go to the paint, get a bucket, get a foul. And they lost that at home. So it was like no excuse. Like you can't blame the refs. Y'all are doing that. I like how in today's game with the efficiency of the 3, if you got heart, no 20-point lead is safe. And I don't like teams that are just giving up.
Yeah. Go ahead, T.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, like I've been telling everyone that, you know, especially New York fans that say like, okay, what happened to y'all? I can't defend the Celtics here. I don't know what defense I could come up with to defend them for game 1 and game 2. They got to be.
I would say Boston made mistakes to where it's like, I'm not going to say they wanted to, but it's like if you look at it even after the press conference, Jaylen Brown was like, yes, like they wanted us to shoot. Well, you keep shooting and missing. Of course, we want you to shoot.
Yeah,
But
there's no explanation to what they do. It's just it's repetitive. It's something that we've seen before. So I mean, from me coming from a fan standpoint, um, I'm not really surprised. I mean, this is what you guys do. You guys can be dominant if you choose to, and if you want to shoot yourself in the foot, that's just going to be the result of it moving forward. Um,
Yeah.
but back to what you were saying, Ace, about the like certain moves that could be made. I think there could be a lot of different transactions. We got the Celtics having assets. We got San Antonio having 2 of the top 15 picks in the draft. OKC still has a lot of draft capital. KD's looking to be moved. We got Giannis in the offseason. There's so many stipulations and different things that could happen. But I guess it really determines, like, I guess how this playoffs kind of rolls out. Like, if I feel like if Knicks end up losing, I think there's going to be a lot of like Giannis talks. And it just
I heard rumors.
Go
I
ahead.
heard rumors the Celtics are looking at Darius Garland to pair Darius Garland with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum because Cleveland, the experiment with Garland and Donovan Mitchell is not working out over there. So just rumors. I'm not sure if it's legit.
The thing with the Celtics now is like that. Let's say they're starting 5, they can't afford to keep all 5. So it's like if you let one of them go, how are you going to afford to go get Garland?
Yeah, you would give up. You'd give up maybe like a Drew or a Porzingis for.
But is it worth it? I just feel like the Celtics, like, it's not the pieces, but the game plan and how you're using it.
It's the mental fortitude. It's all mental.
But is it worth it to give up Drew for a possible Garland, who wasn't even there for his team? Now,
I mean, the thing is, Ace too is more so about the money situation too, because they're about to hit the cap. They're about to hit the cap next season, so they have to make some decisions going into next season.
then it's unfortunate with Tatum. Injuries suck, but then like, who else was injured? Steph got injured. He didn't even get to really do his thing for real. Like, it came out that LeBron played through injury, but I'm not using that. That's the final game. They still blew games and leads where they could have been up. Tatum, Cavaliers was injured, so it's like Indiana's like, all right, that's a hurt team, cool.
But that's the thing. Like, that's the thing we're talking about. Is just like I'm to the point where I'm done giving excuses for people.
That's fair.
You
That's
know,
fair.
injuries is injuries, and injuries happen. It's the next man up. We say it all the time. You know, I just think moving forward, like I was telling you on the side, it's just I feel like I don't think it's really about seeding anymore. I think it's a different mentality when it comes to the playoffs. We're talking about
as long as your game plan and your momentum work, then hey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At one point, what was it? Was it the round before, where at one point 0 home teams won the first couple games? It was getting crazy.
Yeah.
I told you, yeah, that was crazy. That was last round.
No, I think it just shows too, also just how much talent is in the league as well. You know, we're dealing with a lot of teams that at least has, like, we got Halliburton now, that, you know, can we put him in that superstar status realm now going into next season? Same thing with Jalen Brunson. Like, he's been on the cusp.
Jalen Brunson getting to it.
Are we talking about them
I think
getting
he's
to the next level? You know.
So right now, I'm gonna ask you two or three. Who's a better Knick? Not a talent, but a better Knicks player. Carmelo Anthony or Jalen Brunson?
I'll let you go, T.
Now again, not talent, not
talent. Okay.
When they put on the New York Knicks jersey, who's done better? Who's done more?
I mean, that answers the question right there.
I think Brunson would have done more, but I can't say Melo doesn't have the better talent. Like, as an overall better player, like, I would rather have Melo than Brunson.
I'm saying Melo's the better Knick right now, bro.
Right now, Melo's a better Knick, in your opinion?
To me personally, just because of what Melo had to go through in the East to try to win. Like, you had LeBron and the Heat in them. You had Boston. There was a lot of, like, you give it was harder, bro. No, I'm just being for real. And Melo didn't have a team like Brunson can play 5 out. There was no 5 out in New York. That junk was
Well,
Tyson Chandler at the center.
Hold on, Clips. You know, Melo had a team now.
I'm not saying he didn't have a team, but they
Amari
tried to run a triangle with him, Amari,
Who's on that team? Tyson, like
and Tyson.
Jr.
J.R. Smith.
Remember, J.R. Smith didn't start out. Bro, this is how bad the team was at one point. J.R. was the 6th man, and they had Landry Fields starting and still had Amon Shepherd on the bench, bro. Brunson has a better team, like that have actual like standalone.
Shout out to Draco. Shout out to Draco. But I mean, I
watched Melo go for 62 in all jumpers in the New York jersey, bro. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, but when we talk about who has done more for the Knicks, you have to put Brunson in that.
This is how many? Okay, so where Brunson was on the Knicks last year, right?
Yeah, he's been there for the last 3 seasons.
So where was they last season?
Last season they played in the conference semis. He got hurt, broke his hand, and that was the story.
Second round, right? Second round exit.
Yeah,
I think so.
The year before that, what was it?
I mean, I don't think the Knicks was in the playoffs, but if to that standpoint, how often has Melo made it?
Melo made it at least to. I mean, this before this season they made it both the same. They second round.
Yeah, but we're in the conference finals now. Melo's never made the conference finals.
I don't think
No,
not with the Knicks.
I get what you're saying. I'm just like off of Dre's standpoint. He made a good comment saying Brunson has a better team, but does he really like?
Yes.
They only play 6 players.
So if we're talking about OG now and Mikal Bridges,
I'm taking.
Is it not fair to compare them with J.R. Smith and Iman Shumpert?
No. Bro, you're talking OG and Michael as 2 elite wing defenders. JR wasn't playing.
I don't think Michael is elite, but go ahead.
You don't. Okay, he's better than JR at defending. Shump was probably the only line of the Shump. Shump and Tyson Chandler were the only 2 that were sticking defense on that whole roster. Are we being for real?
I'll take JR scoring over Mikal scoring.
Yeah, I like Mikal Bridges middies. I like his game a little bit.
J.R. Smith has a clip.
No, of course.
I'll take.
What up, y'all?
No disrespect to Cat. What up? No disrespect to Cat. A healthy Amari Stoudemire.
Yeah, he was a problem.
And he wasn't healthy.
Yeah, but at that point when Amari got to the Knicks, he was a little bit older. Yeah, he was still Amari, but he wasn't who he was in Phoenix. I would take Cat over Amari now if he was to compare the two. Fine. There's no problem with that. There's nobody on the Knicks currently right now that would compare to Carmelo Anthony. Fine. I'm not going to do the whole Jalen Brunson versus Carmelo.
I don't want to cut y'all off real quick. Just fill me in on what's the conversation.
You'll fit into what
one mic now. Hold on now. One mic. What's the combo?
The question I asked is while we're here at this point in the playoffs, and I have another question after this. And we can say
who was the better Nick between
Melo
and Jalen Brunson at this point?
Brunson.
As I was saying.
Why?
Stoudemire.
I'll let y'all finish, but I'm gonna go Brunson, but I'll let y'all continue.
Karl Anthony Towns, I'll take him over Stoudemire. Fine. I'm not gonna do the comparison with Jalen Brunson and Carmelo. I think Carmelo is the better player, but when we're talking about who has done more, I'm going with Jalen Brunson. It's clear. He's in the Eastern Conference Finals right now, something that Melo's never done. But when we sit here and say that Brunson has hold on. We're sitting here saying that Brunson has a better team than Melo. That's just not really what I agree with, only to a certain extent. I think both teams balanced out around those two pivotal pieces.
Hell no. But,
okay, so
all right, go ahead.
Melo was traded there from Denver in the 2010-2011 season, so I'm not going to count that because he played about half the games. We're gonna go from 2011 up until 2017, which is his stint with the Knicks. The first official full season, they was second. They finished 36-30. That first year. Next season, they went 54 games, and I think they got bounced in the first. That
season.
They lost in the second round to Boston. I mean, not Boston, to the Pacers in 6 games. 2013, they went 37-45. I believe that was the year.
And that Pacers team was with a young Danny Granger. No, Danny Granger was a little bit older.
No, that was the Paul George year.
Paul George year? Okay.
Because that was when they went to the conference finals against the Heat. That's when Paul George arrived, by the way. So that was the playoffs where he officially arrived. The following season, the 2014 season, was just a shit show. You remember James Dolan and Phil Jackson, Derek Fisher was the head coach. They won 17 games. I think Melo was hurt, and Melo only played, it doesn't say here, but yeah, they went 17-65 that following year. And then 2015, 2016, it was 32-50. And then his last season there, they went 31-51. They had Jeff Hornacek as the coach. So really, if we're really going to be honest, the years we're probably going to look at where they had the most success was the 2012-2013 season, and maybe that first full season they had in 2011 to 2012. But based on the argument that was presented, let's go with the 2012-2013 season because that was their best season. And when they won 54 games, they lost.
So we can do the last 2 years of Jalen Brunson and the first 2 years of Melo, him getting there.
The team, because I heard you guys a little bit talking about who had the better team. So the best season they had Melo, of course, Marcus Camby, the former DPOY, and Tyson Chandler, Raymond Felton, Jason Kidd, who came off that championship with Tyson from Dallas. You had Kenyon Martin. You had one of the best shooters in the league, and Steve Novak. Amon Shepard, J.R. Smith. You had Amari Stoudemire. You had Rasheed Wallace. So they had a pretty good team.
It sounds like a bunch of old ass niggas, like bro.
But you have to take into account the year it was.
The only old people was Stoudemire, Chandler, probably Novak.
I wouldn't even
Marcus Camby, nigga.
I wouldn't even consider Amari old. That was his 10th season in the league.
But see, nobody was even talking about Marcus Camby. When we talk about
I'm just running off the names.
When we talking about the Knicks nowadays,
which by the way, that's that first full season with Melo going into the Knicks. Amari was coming off of one of his best seasons in his career, where he finished top 10 in MVP voting. So they had a solid team. I would say if you're comparing the two teams, as an overall player, I'm taking JR over OG and Mikal, if I'm being honest. But when you look at the compare with the Amon Shepards and the Mikal and the OGs, I'll probably lean. I'm not gonna lie, I'll probably still take Amon over Mikal, possibly, but I'll probably still lean with the OG and the Mikals overall because of that offensive scoring.
I'm just like because Clips mentioned that the defensive side of things that he would take him over them too. I'm like, do we forget how much of a defensive presence them two were?
Yes, Amari did break his hand, but that's still not on.
We're not about to say JR's. We're not about to say
Brunson versus Carmelo. Who did it better? But I see how.
But for me, I don't even look at player versus player. It's the team versus team success versus the other team success.
Okay, then how about this? I'll read you that. I'll trade you something else.
J.R. Smith was
Was what?
And a great defender.
Who said that?
Nobody never said that.
I think he's a better player than both of them.
I'm not saying you, but basically to your point, you just said we're not finna say that JR they wasn't a problem. It was Amon Shepard defensively, and JR was just chucking. He was shooting. That's JR's only known for scoring. He's not gonna guard nobody. If I have two defenders that are great defenders and still can get a bucket at some point, I'm taking them too. They're both two ways. I
also want to point out the Knicks' best year with Melo. JR also was the 6th man of the year. So just want to put that out there as well.
Mikal Bridges wasn't being talked about defensively until the Suns.
Back end of the season. Well,
and before probably Celtics because he was shit in the fucking can when he was playing in the Celtics series until after probably the first 2 games. Really,
Mikal was known as a defender since he got to the league.
Like,
it wasn't until he left Phoenix. We don't know what the hell. Once he left Phoenix and went to Brooklyn, we don't know what the hell happened on his.
At the same time, we're not going to sit here and say that Mikal Bridges is just some elite ass defender because he's not.
He was though. He was,
bro. That's what I'm confused at. He had a small stint where he had to go to Brooklyn and learn how to score. He didn't have to play defense because they wasn't winning nothing. Cool. But he came into the league as a defender. OG came into the league. OG came into the league as what? A defender, bro. Like,
remember go ahead. I'll let you finish, Clips.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say to your point. Remember at the time when he was runner up in the DPOY. There was a lot of arguing going on that he should have won that year. He was robbed. This is
I'm not arguing anything from the past. That's
not
what
the reason why we're bringing that up is to say that he was an elite defender.
Then okay.
After he left Phoenix, I don't know what the hell happened. He forgot how to defend. And even most of the season, he was terrible for the most part until like the second half of the season. And up until this point where he's been being the Mikal that we all known and loved him to be when he was in Phoenix.
And I'll trade that question for this one. All right. A lot of great people came off the bench. So also while we're talking about the finals and everything, OKC, this is one of the youngest teams that have been to the final. Last time we seen a young team like this go to the finals was OKC's last core. Which OKC finals team are you taking?
This year's.
Real quick, you guys asked me why I'm taking Brunson over Melo. I was real quick. I'm not going to spend much time on it because I think you guys did a really good job explaining the points on both ends. The reason why I'm taking Brunson more so is just because the team was able to do more, and I don't agree with the whole conference was more difficult because this Eastern Conference was pretty damn good. I mean, a lot of people overlooked the Pacers, and everyone went away from the finals. This is the second year in a row going to the Eastern Conference Finals. Also, you had the juggernaut in Boston that was there. Then you have Milwaukee with Giannis. And then, unfortunately, I'm not talking about this year, obviously, but Philly, when they was healthy last year and in the year prior, they were really good. So the conference was a lot top heavy, just like it was back then. With Melo's Eastern Conference, you had the Knicks, Celtics, Miami. I think Chicago was good for that 1 year, but then the following year, Rose got hurt. So they were where many people would consider Indiana was technically as far as like ranking. And then, of course, you had Indiana when he finally arrived. But I think it was pretty balanced off, to be fair, as far as the conference goes. Obviously, LeBron holds more weight, so I can see that point why Clips will go with that route. So I'm not mad at that. But yeah, Brunson being able to uplift his team when they need a bucket, he's the go-to guy. I think even now with adding Towns, it helps a lot more. But before Towns was the last year, he was really the offense. There was no one else that can get a bucket. So I won't spend too much time on that. I won't get back to the OKC part. But that's some of the reasons why I would take the Knicks this year over the 2012-13 Knicks.
All I got to say about if we was to compare those two OKC teams, if defense was a bit tougher than what it is now, like how it was when KD and them was there, I think this OKC team would have came through a little bit more like battle tested teams in the playoffs, depending on like just like you mentioned, like the Pacers from back then, even the Knicks. Like I just think defense is a bit watered down.
To be fair, we're talking about the KD team ace that went to the finals, right?
They are Westbrook and all them. Yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure.
If you put this OKC's team against that Miami team, I think they lose the same way. But roster wise, I like Russ's teams better. So
that's hard for me. I choose this year's OKC team. Just because the way the team is built, I mean that they have a strong system around Shea, and their bigs. I think their bigs are better than the bigs that the KD's team has. We're comparing like Serge Ibaka and Kendrick Perkins to Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein. I think that's a big difference
All right.
for
I like
for me.
there's an argument with the Surge, but with Perkins, that's what
I'm like,
You got that, but Serge, what is Chet Holmgren doing with Serge Ibaka?
Chet,
well, for starters,
Chet is way better.
Surge is a liability being able to stretch the floor like Chet. So that's why I think that's why I will give Chet the slight edge. Defensively, you splitting hairs. I think Surge is better guarding the pick and roll.
Both block masters.
Yeah, I'll give the edge to Surge on the rim protection just because of the athletic ability. Also, Chet has the wingspan, so he could cover more ground. But like I said, I think the gap would be the offensive side of the ball for those two.
And then for the wings, Jalen Williams and Dort. I forget who was the shooting guard for Russell Westbrook's team, but Cephalosha and KD. I mean, obviously KD has the edge over there, but Dort is
James Harden is coming off the bench. Let's not
all NBA defense. Lou Dort this year, as well as and Jalen Williams. I think is third team defense. So I think
third team all NBA
Jalen Williams
team defense. Yep.
Right. And he can give you 20 at any given night. So I would go with this year's team. I'm off the bench. James Harden versus Caruso. Obviously, we go James Harden, but I'll still go this year's team.
Draco, send another comment. What roster are you referring to? Is it OKC or the Knicks? I just want to clarify. I'm looking at the 2012-2013 roster now, actually. I'm trying to make sure I get the right year. For when
probably was talking about the OKC. But yeah, I mean
2012. Okay, I got it right here.
Yeah, I think this OKC's team is definitely the shit. And I definitely think they'll be the shit in years to come. I think Dagenau, what's their coach name?
Mark Dagenau, yep.
Yeah, I don't really agree with that, only because this is the same OKC last year, and what did they do with the Mavericks?
This is not the same team.
It's not the same team. Isaiah Hartenstein wasn't there. Caruso wasn't there.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Had this been the Warriors versus OKC, they're not doing that. They're not having their way like this.
I disagree. 1,000%. You talk about this Golden State year's team?
This year's team woulda, coulda. If Steph healthy,
that's what I want to make sure I clarify your point.
This year team. If Golden State would have beat Minnesota to get onto this conference finals, they're
losing 5.
Who losing 5 exactly?
The Warriors.
I don't think they would have lost in 5.
I have OKC winning this series, but probably in 6 or 7.
Yeah, I don't think they would have won in 5.
Curry can only do so much, and all Butler can do is punt fake you to death and get a foul.
That's not all he can do.
That's really all he does. He's not the same Jimmy Butler. We're not going to digress on the Butler part.
I'm not going hypothetical. I don't know what's going to happen in that series. I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I just think what happened in Minnesota was clearly as shown. They didn't have enough scoring pieces. I think if we're talking about Golden State against that matchup, we're dealing with a lot more scoring pieces on Golden State than Minnesota had, given off this past series. I just think that series would have been a little bit better than this.
To back to the Aces point, reason why I have Golden State losing to OKC in that 5. So I get KD. KD holds a lot of weight with that 2011-2012 team, which is the team that went to the finals. But the reason why I'm slightly edging this year's OKC team because they're just a deeper team, and they're deeper when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. I said this a few episodes ago. I can make the argument Shea's the 6th best defender on the team. Legit.
To your point on Chet stretching the floor, this whole conference finals, he's made no more than 2 threes from the arc. I could live with that.
He only made 2 threes in 4. He only made 2 threes in 5 games.
Every game, 1 3. Okay, 2 out of 4, 2 out of 5, 1 3, 1 3. That ain't really stretching the floor.
Wait, how many threes has he hit in the series? You said he hit 2 in the whole series, which I don't.
Let's go to it. So game 1 conference finals, 1 for 1 from the 1 out of 1.
That was gonna be my next question. How many shots is he taking from the 3? That's also
that was 1 for 1. I'm saying that 1 for 1 from the 3.
Okay.
Game 2 of the conference finals. Let's see. Hold up, it's loading.
I know he hit more than 2 threes, but he hit like 3 or 4 in game 4.
1 out of 6. 1 out of 6 in game 2. Keep stretching the floor, buddy.
Hey, do you hear yourself though? Whether he's
if he's missing, it's not really stretching.
He does stretch the floor because he's taking the shots. He's opening up the lane. It's not about
taking it, but his percentages is shit. 1 for 6, bro. You keep
who
I
is
never
this?
said anything about percentages. I'm just saying his ability.
What I'm saying is this: to stretch the floor, you have to be good at it. If
so what was he shooting from 3 this season? Because obviously he's able to do it.
Well, I'm focused on the conference finals right here. What I'm saying is this:
what we're talking about.
Shooting those threes, you can shoot the threes all you want, but if you're not making them like that, it's not really stretching the floor. Help me out.
Are they leaving him open to shoot the 3?
1 for 6.
I mean, I get both sides, but I mean, it's like you can stretch.
Yeah, I understand Ace's point, but that point is not the point I made. That's what I'm trying to point out. I'm not saying he's an elite shooter compared to Serge. He can stretch the floor, whether he's making it or not. The defense is going to respect him shooting the 3. Now, consider how the offense is played. They'll much rather him shoot that than let SGA go to work. If we're being honest.
Thing is this: if he's shooting, yeah, you'll let him shoot. But if I'm Serge, I don't have to go all the way out there. I can still be on the block. His percentage ain't good. He
probably had no block work. He wasn't an offensive player.
I'm not saying block work like offense and post up. What I'm saying is, I don't have to go out there and guard somebody who's maybe going to hit a 3 once a game. So as far as stretch the floor, how much stretching are you doing? I could put
the game plan is different though.
As a player that plays, as someone that plays basketball, whether the shooter's hitting the shots or not. If you know he's a consistent knockdown shooter, you're going to respect that.
He's not consistent. I'm not respecting.
Okay, I'm not going to asking you. I'm going to look it up myself because.
As far as the conference finals, we're talking about OKC.
That's a small sample size. That's 5 games, Ace.
But that's what he was referring to. That's the whole thing. He's referring to that specific series.
But that's the point. That doesn't qualify compared to my point, because when I say he stretches the floor, it's not on a sample size of 5 games.
If you should stretch the floor, you should stretch the floor every game. That's the point of our.
So shooters don't have. Why are we making this such a difficult thing to comprehend? Yes, that point is true, Ace. But there's also times where shooters have bad series.
Yeah, what Ace is saying is that if you have a bad series, or I see you're out here, if I'm on the court and I see you're out here, you want to stretch the floor all you want, but you're not hitting any, I'm not respecting your game anymore. I'm going to keep letting you shoot.
So real quick, because Chet on his career, the 2 seasons, he's a career 37% 3-point shooter. Are you not going to respect that?
Nah. If you ain't
do you know the average? Do you know the regular averages for the league averages for shooters?
You'll tell me.
And by the way, his rookie year, which he played the full season, obviously, but he shot.
I don't think people are thinking about percentages when they're actually playing. If you
I'm talking about just like us being on the court.
You ain't hitting. So
but
you ain't hitting. I'm not.
Like 2 things could be true. You can be on the arc, stretching the floor and creating a lane by you being out there.
Yeah, he averaged 1.4
playing when
threes this year.
Game of basketball, we all know this. When we playing 5s and you got a dude out there that's open 3 already, you're gonna walk him off on the next one, and if he hit.
Even in the Nuggets,
you also gonna play percentages too, because there was a series where Andre Roberson in the series shot the 3 well, and we know historically he is a terrible 3-point shooter. So you also can play the percentages in that too. That's what the scheming and game planning around comes from.
Hey, this man's getting exposed. Even in the Nuggets series, he never hit no more than 2 threes. What am I? No, hell no.
Who's the better shooter, Ace? Serge or Chet? Because I don't know why we're dwelling on this.
No. The argument wasn't a better shooter. Your argument was he's
stretching the floor means you can shoot, Ace. Why?
And he can. I'm looking at the numbers. He really.
Ace, you're looking at sample size series. I'm giving you a full.
And then I just showed you the Nuggets.
So Ace, if you're building a team, and you have to pick a power forward, if you're building a team, you have to pick a power forward. You choosing Serge Ibaka over Chet?
I would.
If you're building a team,
he's not going to fall over and get hurt.
I just don't understand how we're using a 7-game sample size compared to an 82-game sample size.
What was his average?
Yeah, but
what was his average? So he's not making any shots. No more than 2 shots.
Ace, but that isn't a small sample. I'm giving you for 82 games.
I gave you.
Forget 82 games. For Chet's career, he averages 1.5 threes a game.
On 4 attempts.
Yeah, which is okay from a statistical standpoint. I get all that, but when we're talking about from Ace's small sample size, or from whatever, like if I'm prepping for a game, I'm prepping for that 1.5 out of 4 shots next game. Once you get that one shot, if you miss or make it, I'll go off of my determination how I want to guard you moving forward. You can stretch the floor all you want, but if you're useless stretching the floor, what is my point of going out there guarding it?
So when you're going into the postseason, what are schematically? How are you prepping for these teams? Based on what? You have to use tape based on what? The regular season, correct?
I mean, based off of
his,
tape
or his career.
depends.
Yeah.
So if we're going into the postseason and throughout the regular season, I'm shooting 37% from the 3. Regardless if he's on 4 attempts,
1.5 makes on
on 4 attempts.
That's I'm not guarding that. I'm being for just because the numbers sound like the percentages. That 37 sound good, but in game, that shit is 1 for 4. On the next game is probably 2 for 3. Then the following game is 1 for 3. That shit fluctuates.
And then it might be a game where he's 4 for 8. We don't know. But that the point I'm trying to make is regardless of that, because this argument is based on one thing: comparing him
and Serge Ibaka.
There is no comparison when you talk about stretching the floor. Serge ain't shooting the 3.
If we're talking about from that stat specific thing, then yeah, there's no comparison.
That's Peso. That's what
this is all we're saying, guys. Serge Ibaka or Chet. What power forward are you going with to build a team?
What Ace is saying basically is that if I'm Serge and you're not hitting, why am I going out there to respect that percentage that we're talking about? That
the floor narrative doesn't work for him because it's not. He's not. You're saying schematically.
That's like saying Chris Bosh can't stretch the floor.
No, I don't.
Nah, that's not what we're getting.
I feel like we're going in circles, but as far as the rest of the,
why did y'all are
my thing is this:
OKC comparing OKC teams. We got to comparing Chet and Serge.
I was trying to get off of that. Ace had a question regarding that when my statement where I said Chet was be able to stretch the floor, something that Serge doesn't do. I was trying to move past that, but because I was trying to get to the other parts why I think this OKC.
But offensively,
it's a slight edge.
He played 5 out. Didn't him there could play 5 out. Like the way OKC in 2011, 2013, whatever the year was, the way they ran their offense, it wasn't like that. Like they didn't have a lot of shooting on the court. Just what it was.
And to your point, this year's OKC team plays a lot of 5 out, right?
Yeah.
So with them playing 5 out, more so when Harden's off the court, because when Harden's on the court, they don't play 5 out. If they're playing 5 out, that means the lane is going to open up, and the stretch is what? The floor.
Yeah, I never said. I never.
No, I'm not saying you said that. I'm saying what you said is going back to my main point. Why I'm slightly taking Chet over Serge because of that. I didn't expect us to spend 5-10 minutes on this.
But really, if you're putting this OKC team, this Chet back in that era, that shit is not gonna work.
But there's a lot of things that won't work for both sides. To your point, so that's why.
But
like you said earlier, it's a hypothetical.
Yeah, I don't really care to compare the two. Like I said from my statement from the beginning, I think defense played a lot in that era versus this era now. And I'm not taking anything away from OKC this era. From my personal standpoint of view, defense is very watered down in this era.
I kind of disagree.
I'm not saying that OKC just got through it because of that, but there's a difference. And if we're going to be talking about comparing the two teams, you put this OKC team against that Miami team that OKC went against, I think they lose the same way.
I don't know. I don't know. But
I don't think so too. In today's NBA, you got to learn how to shoot some threes.
Someone brought up the Chris Bosh thing. I think this is hilarious. I'm going to read this off, right? Because this whole 1 for 4, 37% thing that we hopped on is crazy. Before I get to the main point, would y'all respect Chris Bosh as a jump shooter?
I would.
Mid-range, yeah.
The 3-point. No, I ain't talking about mid-range. The 3-point, stretching the floor.
Like I would.
No.
Clip says no. T-Top says yes. What'd you say, Peso?
Nope.
Ace? Would you respect Chris Bosh as someone that stretches the floor?
He was the person that just hit timely shots. I wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
Chris Bosh actually hit game winners, and the team.
That's not what I asked. Would you respect him as someone that stretches the floor?
Has Chet been trusted to take a three?
No. Cool. So would you like to know that? And I'm using the years where he actually shot the three at a higher clip in Miami.
You talking about in the league?
Let me finish. Would you like to know?
In 20 at a high volume.
Can I finish?
All
would you
right,
like to know?
No.
The 3 years when he shot the three. That's why I'm still gonna say it anyway to prove my point, which is why the whole 1 for 437% on Chet is irrelevant. Would you like to know when Bosh was shooting 3 or more attempts in Miami at the three ball, he shot 34%, 37%, 37%. And guess what the volume was? 1 for 4, 1 for 4, 1 for 3. But you will respect him as someone that stretches the floor, but you won't respect Chet. And they shoot the same on the same volume.
In the era where the threes weren't taken like that, where people really guarded him.
Regardless of how was people really guarding him? He was a third option.
Different for Bosh. The scheme is way different for Bosh than it is for Chet.
No, he's saying people actually guarded Chris Bosh.
People actually going out there to guard Chris Bosh.
Are you actually going to go guard Chris Bosh when you got to worry about LeBron and Wade?
Wait, Chet is the third option as well. Chet is the third option as Chris Bosh is.
No, but he's saying what Ace is trying to say is as Chet as a third option and Chris Bosh as the third option, people were actually still having to scheme for Chris Bosh. People don't really scheme for that. You get what I'm saying? Chris Bosh was a number one option here. Let's act like
but he wasn't in Miami, so that's the point I'm trying to make.
But
go ahead.
Even with him not being the number one option in Miami, into game plans, you're like, okay, we still have to focus on him because if we shut down 2, he can still. That was the whole like, you get what I'm saying? We know Chris Bosh can take over games. People don't. Chet ain't taking over a game offensively, bro. Like
I understand
that. Serge Ibaka isn't either.
I understand
Serge was. I never said that Chet wasn't better than Serge. I never said that. I never.
Me neither, by the way. I just said
that was never the debate.
Personally, if I'm in the league and I'm a power forward that's guarding Chet, and you're out here, and I know you. Last game you went 1 for 4, and the next game you start off over 2. I'm waving your punk ass off for that third one. I'm not worried about it. If you hit it, you hit it.
I understand Bosh was the number one option in Toronto prior. I get all of that. However, you're not really going to game plan against him as much when you have to worry about LeBron and Wade on the court.
But you still have to game plan for his plays.
You rather live with Bosh shooting the three because remember
there was games
he had to develop the 3-point shot. He wasn't known as a 3-point shooter.
There were games when, for example, when there's a lot of games where LeBron and D-Wade were out and. I'm going to say Chet. I'm going to say Chet again.
What you said, LeBron and Wade was what?
Out. They still had the game plan for
it. So if they're out, you had a game plan for it.
Let me finish. Let me finish. I'll let you finish. So in the games where Chris Bosh is the option, the number one option, right? Or number 2, let's just say if one of them were out, regardless of what, even if all 3, those 3 were the 3 that you had to on the checkboard when they draw Chris Bosh's mid-range or 3, whatever they drawing up, you have to guard that. We're not like people are more focused on guarding J-Dub and Shea, and Chet is just the afterthought for real. I'm just being like that's just
they're really more focused on Shea because they will let J-Dub shoot the 3, if I'm being honest. But what you said is proving my point though.
Okay.
Yes, when they're all 3 on the court, you're not really focused on him, just like you won't be with Chet. But like you just said, if 1 or 2 is out, then they will. Because the focus for the defense is not on LeBron and Wade because they're out.
If J-Dub go down in this Chet and Shea, they're not game.
They're going to scheme a little different. Yes,
they're not.
Now, are they going to scheme to the level of Bosh? Like you said, no, they probably won't. But my point overall was based on the stats and the usage, and them both being third options. They both shot the same percentages, identical, and with the same usage being third options. But you respect one stretching the floor who had to learn how to shoot the 3. Not learn, let me rechange that. Had to adapt to shooting the 3 because he wasn't a 3-point shooter in Chris Bosh, as opposed to Chet being someone that knows who can stretch the floor coming out of Gonzaga.
Who said they was respect?
Not you. You didn't say that. Ace did. That's the point I was trying to make. Ace said he will respect Bosh as someone that can stretch the floor but he won't respect Chet when they both shot the same usage from 3 and same.
Let me ask you a question. So, are we only counting stretching the floor as shooting 3?
That's what I was when I said mine. That's what I said. My initial.
So a high midi is not stretching the floor.
I was only talking about the 3. Obviously,
hold on,
yes.
real quick. Let me keep it a stat before I even get out of here.
My initial point when I said Chet would stretch the floor against Serge was mostly talking about the 3-point line.
I don't know how we got.
You can talk about the mid range too, sure, but my primary focus was the 3-point line. It wasn't nothing else.
Hold on, Musa, pass the rock real quick. I understand we got into Miami how Wade, Bosh, and LeBron could stand alone, and they had their own teams. Could Chet do that?
That does not matter in the situation.
People have to really guard Bosh. He was really like
you're not guarding Bosh if LeBron and Wade's on the court. What
Nah, yes,
talking about?
Bro, but that's yes. The reason I'm saying they are, bro, because even in the finals
alone, bro, can't stand alone to be the franchise player on no team.
If you're game planning against Miami, those big 3, you would rather Bosh go off than LeBron or Wade,
and you're still losing.
Regardless if you win or losing, scheme.
Yeah, but Musa, but I definitely think people were scheming with Bosh too, even with Wade and LeBron on the court. The Pacers did, the Celtics did, the Spurs did.
Did they scheme against Bosh in 2011?
What team specifically?
Dallas.
If we're talking about that specific finals, you didn't have nobody on that team that could really guard him besides Sean Marion.
Did they scheme against him against Chicago? I mean, when he played against Chicago,
there was nobody on Chicago besides Boozer that could really mess with him.
Game for game, and
who were.
I didn't mention the game. I'd mention the series. I'm just
you say
again,
you remember
the point that people are missing. He had to adapt the 3-point shot because he wasn't known as a 3-point shooter.
He had to adapt. The Chet came in already shooting the 3, right? And they have the same numbers. And they have the same number. A nigga who had to learn late in his career has the same. You just want to hear yourself talk, bro.
No, because you're not listening. You're making my point.
Nah, but I like I said, I get both sides. I think when it comes to because it kind of got confusing after a while because you were saying that stretching the floor doesn't have to do with just shooting the 3. It's just about being out there too.
But even if, to your point, even if it's stretching the floor period compared to Serge, because again, this is all about Serge and Chet. Serge does not stretch the floor.
Yeah, I don't think we kind of drove it a little too far.
I don't know why that was so hard to like.
Listen, for everybody watching, we got to set some order here. Okay, this is where we first started. We was comparing both OKC teams, and then we got the Surge because we was getting into kind of like a player for player comparison. We just got stuck on Surge for a little bit too long.
They hate to hear that Chet stretches the floor. They hate
but I don't think me personally, we could move on. I don't think that there's a comparison between the two. I think from a defensive standpoint, you get a lot more from Surge clearly than you do from Chet. But there is an advantage of having Chet out there to stretch the floor. That I do agree.
He stretches the floor, whether he's effective at it or not.
But if that motherfucker ain't out there hitting, I ain't, do your thing.
And that was the point out. That's why I said 5 minutes ago, I don't know why we harped on this for so long. That was my point. Regardless of him hitting it or not, you're not going into the game like, oh, I got to guard Surge at the corner, at the corner 3 or off the pick and pop. You're not worried about that. You're going to play drop. You're not going to do that hypothetically against Chet. Because he could pop, and if he has a mismatch on whoever's helping on the pick and roll defense, he can go over the top in the mid-range or in the paint at times because he does play low soft at times. When he's more aggressive like he was in the game 4 against Minnesota, the Chet you see in game 4, that's the Chet we hoping to see more and more. Because if he's doing that, this team is unbeatable.
And then, too, I mean, we got to think about it, too. We're trying to talk about, 2 players where, Bosh was already – kind of in his prime, but past his prime in Miami versus Chet is still not.
I would think Bosh was still in his prime in Miami. It's just he had to dumb down his game because it's a lot of mouths to feed. That's what I'm saying. I agree with Clips and Ace's point. Yes. Would you want Chris Bosh killing you? No. But when you have him, Wade, and Braun, you don't want Braun killing you, and you're not gonna want Wade to kill you. So you're gonna have to pick your.
But I think in that era there was like if you brought up Chicago, so we talked about Boozer. Indiana, you had David
Boozer, Jakeem Noah.
And I think back then you had a lot more strategic game plans for that big three because you had the Danny Grangers, you had the Derrick Rose and the Kirk Heinrichs to try to. He wasn't guarding, of course, Wade and LeBron, but to kind of combat and offset that from an offensive standpoint. So, but yeah, enough of them. Let's get to this next topic, fellas.
Oh, sheesh.
We didn't even get to fully dive into the rest of the team.
Let's get
I
back
didn't even get
into
to talk about Case and Wallace and how he is. That's all good, man. We missed this.
Who y'all think benefits from a ring the most this year? I know we still got Indiana and Knicks hashing it out. OKC's there, but who do y'all think out of all the stars? We could even talk about the Cats, the Mikal Bridges and Chets and stuff. But who do y'all think benefits more from a ring this year?
I mean, I say Shea. You got the MVP. You got to finish the job. You know, you gotta win the chip, and if he can get a Finals MVP, which I think he will, that's just good on the resume. If you want to head into that tier of Hall of Fame one day, and probably being one of the greats of OKC, if not the greatest OKC player to play, I think Shea has a lot. Like just in terms of his career, I think that would look good on him. He has to get the chip.
Yeah, no, I definitely could second that. You bring up the whole Shea being the OKC great. I definitely think if he does win this year, probably put him over the echelon of KD as far as being an OKC great. So that I do agree.
KD couldn't get the job done in OKC.
Also, too, I don't want to. If I had a second person, I would definitely say Halliburton. We was talking about it earlier, Clips and Musa, before y'all got on. I think that even him not winning the finals, even if he doesn't make and the Knicks, come back and win, I still think Halliburton is kind of hitting that peak where into next season, I think he's at that superstar status. Just off of what he was proven to how he dealt with Cleveland and Donovan Mitchell over there. And the same thing of what he's doing for the Knicks right now. He's definitely holding it down over there. So if I had to pick, I definitely agree to Shea. But if I had somebody else, I had Halliburton.
I guess I'll go. I was gonna let Clips go next. Brunson. He's in the biggest market between the last three teams left. New York has not been to a conference finals since 1999. They haven't won a championship since the mid 70s, I believe.
When's the last time the Pacers been there? 2000?
2000, yeah. So, but the reason why I'm giving Brunson a slight edge is because it's the Knicks market compared to the Pacers market. You win a championship in New York City, where they haven't won since 75.
Shit, I don't think they won a championship there in ages.
That's going to be. You've seen how they acted when they just beat Boston. So just imagine,
they acted like they already won the championship.
Just imagine, given the history of the Knicks, the players who played on that Knicks jersey, the great players. I want to clarify, to win the championship in New York, that's going to be astronomical. Well, regardless who wins it's going to be great for them. But I think it has less to do with Shea, only because Shea's already in the talks. I'm talking about current day, not all time. He's already in talks as being one of the top three players in the league already. This will just stamp it and solidify him to be even one or two. Some people might still have Giannis, which I'm fine with. But that's why I think it'll have him to do least. But to your point, T-Top, about him, why it might be even more important is because he'll become one of the 14th player in history to win an MVP and a Finals MVP in the same season. And the last time it's been done was in 2013 with LeBron. The players on that list is Willis Reed, which I believe was on the Knicks, if I'm not mistaken, by the way. Jabbar, Malone, Bird, Braun, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Shaq, Duncan, and Hakeem. And for him to be the only guard outside of Jordan to do it at the elite level he's been playing at, as far as like his percentages at the rim as a guard and all that good stuff, that would just catapult him even further. So, to your point, that could be another reason why. But I'm gonna go with Brunson for the aesthetic of it all.
I feel you brought up a good point with saying how New York, seeing how they already reacted after beating Boston and stuff like that. That's why I didn't even bother bringing him up because, I feel like he doesn't really lose as much, even if they don't make it to the finals, even if they don't win, because New York is just every single year, it's always destined to win a championship. But it's like you don't really realize it from New York until like we get through the season and see what they're doing. Because we was thinking about what we was thinking about before the beginning of the season, not us, but everybody kind of projected the Celtics and the Knicks in the Eastern Conference. But then, as Cleveland ended up coming up, people forgot about the Knicks, even their own fans, until things started turning around for them a little bit and stuff like that. But I really don't think that Brunson really doesn't have. I think he's already great. He's already a great Knick, just like we was talking about earlier between him and Melo. Like, I think he's done more. Like, I love Melo. He's my favorite basketball player. But I think, Brunson's already solidified himself enough in that Madison Square Garden to where even if they don't get to that point, I think Brunson's going to finish out his career there. I do see him getting a ring there eventually. But I just don't think it's going to be now. I don't think he has too much to lose.
Yeah. Clips, who you think benefits the most
from winning the chip right now?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm from Boston, so I'm not gonna. I'd never say New York. Yeah, them Knickerbockers, hell no. OKC. I'm going with Shea, bro. He, he's the MVP. Making the case for the best player in the league. I know some people have Jokic, but he's just right now he's standing alone. He's carrying a bunch of young guys on his back, even though that they're all playing gritty. It just looks good. I feel like OKC, they've showed what they lacked last year when losing to Dallas. They got better, and they hit the ground running. They had a slow start. People wasn't thinking that they was gonna make it back to the top, but they're here, man. So I need OKC to just finish it out. You took care of Ant-Man and them. You got a lot of rest because New York is gonna have to keep playing. I think New York wins the next game as well. So you got a lot of rest. Now you just have to game plan for whoever wins and then kick their ass. I think OKC kicks Indiana's ass, so I need the Knicks to win, and so I can have a semi-decent finals.
Do you think Knicks tying it up tonight?
Yeah, I got the Knicks tying it up. I just going 7, bro, and then from there we'll see what happens.
That's one thing Indiana does not want. I
don't think they win if they go back to the Garden for Game 7. I think it ends tonight.
I think it ends tonight too. I would like to watch more basketball, but I think Pacers close it in Indiana tonight.
Regardless of who would have won, whether the Pacers won last game or tonight, the finals is going to start on Thursday. So,
right.
Yeah. So win tonight, so I can get another game at least, because that's a long.
Right on Monday.
I need the Knicks to win tonight so we can get another game, and I'll be comfortable watching.
Because the Clips brought it up. I believe Indiana's actually a better and more interesting matchup against OKC because of the pace to play for both teams. And I think Indiana's pace to play with their offense versus OKC's pace to play with their defense. I think it's gonna be more fun matchup to watch. I'm sorry, I just seen the comment. I'm not even gonna indulge in this, but I'm gonna put it on the screen, obviously. I'm not.
I think
no.
I'm not indulging in that. I'm glad I missed the Boston Celtics segment because I'm tired of having to be up here and talk about
just real quick. I'm over. I don't think. Let me see if this is just my opinion. I don't think Tatum is going to reach MVP and Finals same year status. I don't see it happening.
Well, that's not a stretch because, like I said, it's only been 13 players to do it, and the last time it's been done is about 12 years ago.
Yeah, and the same from an MVP standpoint. I unless it's maybe later in his career. I just don't see him getting an MVP. That's all I'm gonna say.
Not with Jokic and Shea in the league.
I said it based on how we said it. I said this episodes ago, like when we talked about MVP. I said based on how the criteria was when we grew up watching basketball.
Yeah,
Tatum would have won it last year.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
but
or 2022.
Possibly. I think he had a better chance this year, considering they were the best team with the best record, and he was the best player, leading them in points, rebounds, and assists, I believe. No, he did in the playoffs. That was the regular season. That was the playoffs. But nonetheless, based on how we grew up, the best player on the best team typically won MVP at times. I mean, we had outliers like Derrick Rose.
So we still taking Tatum over Shea?
No. I'll put
Not after this season.
As a player, no. But if we're talking about what they have done in their careers, I don't think it's the only thing that's outlying right now is the MVP. Tatum has done more.
I remember at the beginning of the season,
I still have Tatum. Oh, don't get it twisted. If we're building a team, I'm still taking Tatum because I think Tatum can do more. But I'm not going to be biased.
Damn, man, that's
SGA will be over him right now. Yeah,
I just was asking because I remember we had this conversation at the beginning of the season. And
I had Tatum.
It was all projection.
I'm standing on my nuts. Don't worry.
Most of us. I had Tatum too, but given how the season rolled out, I'm not going to go into next season.
Now, hopefully that man held speedy recovery.
But I'm also not going to be biased either. I'll call a spade a spade. SGA has been better, but if you ask me who I'd rather have to build a team around, I'm still going to take Tatum.
I'll take Tatum too.
Last topic of the day, fellas, and everybody else watching, y'all could tune into this too. I want to rank the last 6 NBA Finals champions. So, of course, we got last year, we got the Celtics, we got the Nuggets from 2023, Golden State from 2022, we have the Bucks from 2021, the Lakers, and then the Toronto Raptors. If y'all had to rank them 1 through 6, I got the list here if y'all need it again, but I guess we could start from the bottom and then we could work our way up. Who y'all think is the worst team out of all the 6? I don't want to say worst because they all won, but if y'all had to rank
I will say,
damn, that's tough.
For me, it's gonna be between the Warriors and the Bucks. For sure. It's between those two teams. When you compare comparing them to the other championship teams, it's between those two teams. But again, they won a championship, so it's not like you're not the worst. Really, I don't like that wording. But
so who would you have last?
So wait. Let's let you go ahead.
Ask your question.
No. Go ahead, go ahead. Let's see.
No, go ahead. Who would you have last?
No. I'm the Warriors ain't last in mine. So
you got them first?
No, but I don't got them last.
I think for me, I guess we could all go last and then work our way up. For me, I would probably have the Toronto Raptors of 2019, the last team.
I was thinking the same. It was between that and Lakers, only because Lakers won in the bubble, but that's not fair. It's not fair to say.
Are we? So what was you guys' criteria when you rank the teams? Is it just the playoff?
Just
rank the whole season.
Bring up Draco.
Just ranking them straight up.
He's not up here
yet. Just ranking them 1 through 6.
But no, what was your criteria ranking them? Like, I want to hear everyone's criteria. Like,
roster for roster. Basically, if it was 5v5 in the finals, each team against each other or each team against the pack.
I didn't rank my teams that way. I'm looking at what the team. I'm looking at the team roster construction. I'm looking at what they were able to do.
However you see fit.
Yeah. That's why I asked you guys what was you guys' criteria. Yours was based on versus each other. I wanted to hit clips and T-tops because our criteria all might be different.
Mine is roster, and if I could remember like who they were facing, like how they got to the top, then that as well. But I don't remember like the Bucks road to the finals, so I can't really say. I can only really base them on their roster. Like I know Drew, Middleton, and Giannis played a big part in beating the Suns in that finals. So that's what I'm thinking. Like, okay, like how was their finals matchup? I know Warriors path. They beat us obviously to get there, and that was a tough loss for us. But I'm just trying to like I don't know what my list is yet, but that's what I'm basing it off, like the roster and who they were facing in that finals matchup.
Go ahead. Okay.
Raptors is not fair. I have to put them 6, but it's not fair because KD. Like I would have liked to see them win with KD, like facing KD.
That's kind of
because they didn't. Right. So I got to give them 6 because KD wasn't really there. But that doesn't take anything away from Kawhi. What Kawhi did that year for them, you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah.
But that's why I asked.
But they're my 6. Raptors are my 6.
I took account the KD injury, but I'm also looking at how they led up to the finals too. As I said, I wanted to have everyone's criteria, just so because, like I said, we all gonna have different criteria on how we did the rankings and stuff like that. So that's why I was curious because mine's I'm taking the entire season in totality.
I got you. But for 6, I got the Raptors for 6.
Yeah, I got them 6 too. For that specific reason, I think that
wait, we ranking them 1 through 10.
1 through 6. The last 6 champions. Mm-hmm.
Same thing that T was saying, though. I kind of have Raptors in that boat. And like I said, nothing to take away from Kawhi at all. He had a phenomenal playoff run that year. But I know if injuries didn't happen, things would have been a little bit different. I don't, and who you had 6 clips or last?
I'm still deciding that. I ain't gonna lie. I'm leaning towards the Milwaukee.
The Bucks. Well, let me read y'all my list. I got Raptors last. I had the Bucks 5th. I just don't think that the Suns were nowhere near ready, and I think Giannis was on another damn tier. And he was just a freak of nature.
Yeah. He also came back from that knee injury to play in that.
I forgot about that too. I had Lakers 4th. I just think just having the adversity alone of being in the bubble, being in that environment, even though people want to put an asterisk on it, as well as the constructed roster that they had. They had a really, really nice team. And the Warriors, I had the Warriors 3rd. It was bully ball that season for me. Bully ball that playoff series that was going through for me. The way they beat the Celtics, it kind of manhandled them. Nuggets I'll have at 2. I think things would have been different if they would have played Boston that year a little bit. Jokic, that was his MVP season, or was it before?
That was
the year before. Okay. Jamal Murray was hot. Their roster was pretty solid too. I think Miami just was undermanned. They
what year are you talking about?
2023 when they won.
That was the year they robbed them of winning 3 straight.
Yeah, Miami was just a little bit undermanned for me, so I kind of seen that coming for the Nuggets and then the Celtics. I think last year with the constructive roster that they had, despite the injuries that the teams had with Cleveland and Indiana last year. Jaylen Brown getting the finals MVP and just how he handled that situation with guarding Luka and Kyrie, 2 of the best ball dominant players we've probably ever seen. I think as well as the roster too, if I had to pick like a top roster out of all 6 of these, the Celtics had the best team to me, in my opinion. So I
thought you was going to tax the Celtics because we taxed Toronto about injuries, but all we heard last year was injuries that Boston had. Yeah. So I was expecting a tax on the Celtics.
The difference for me, if we're going to bring up that, I feel like the injuries with the Raptors, like I feel like Golden State would have definitely been in the series a lot more than Indiana and Cleveland. And that's the crazy thing because Indiana took them to that far in the playoffs last year, the Celtics. But I think it would have been a difference with the Raptors and Golden State if KD wasn't hurt back in 2019. That's my 6 though. Celtics, Nuggets, Warriors, Lakers, Bucks, and Raptors.
I don't think Jamal Murray didn't play that first round against the Warriors the year they won the championship, right? When Jokic lost to them in 5 in the first round. I don't think Jamal Murray played. I think he was out with the ACL.
You talking about when the Warriors won?
Yeah, when the Warriors won.
I mean, the second round?
I remember them being beat, but I don't remember if Jamal Murray played.
They beat the year the Warriors won the championship. They beat the Nuggets in 5 in the first round. I don't think Murray played that year.
You think that would have been a little difference maker? Jamal Murray being there.
Yes.
Wiggins was on some shit.
He was on one, but I think
right.
That team wasn't constructed the way it was yet for the Nuggets. Losing Murray was definitely a huge loss. I still think the Warriors would have won regardless, but that's another thing. I'll try to make sure I remember, like, for each team that we're ranking, because there was injuries are going to happen, unfortunately, but there was some injuries on at least for every championship run.
And that's another thing for Toronto too.
That's why I didn't want to tax the injury stuff too much.
For that stint with Embiid, that one game that he had 0 points in the playoff game.
That's why it was. Here's my bottom half. So 4 through 6, it was tough because Toronto out of the 6 has one of the better defenses out of the 6th group. Obviously, I think that was one of the years. No, Gasol didn't win DPOY in Toronto. It was in Memphis.
Better than Boston, you think?
No, I don't think it's better than Boston, but it was it was a pretty damn good defensive team. Actually, it could compete because people forget you had OG. I don't think OG played because he was hurt in the playoffs. He got hurt in the playoffs. But before throughout the whole season, you had OG, Kawhi, and Siakam on the wings with the back end of Marc Gasol. So they had a really damn good defense. But
yeah,
at 6 for me, I will put the Bucks at 6. Swept Miami. They won Game 7 obviously against Brooklyn, but that was a damn good series. People argue if that toe was on the line, Brooklyn probably goes to the finals more than likely, and then you beat the Hawks in 6, which I think most of those games Giannis missed with the knee injury. He came back. That knee injury, people forget, if you look at it, it was nasty. Like the fact that he was able to come back, win the series, and end the series off with a 50-piece, I'll put them at 6. I have Toronto at 5, just because obviously I didn't use it to tax, but considering when I had to compare, obviously we know what happened in the finals. But what led up to the finals was one of the best runs, and that's probably the biggest peak Kawhi has had in his career on both ends. So you had Fred VanVleet off the bench. Kyle Lowry was a menace still. You still had a young OG before he got hurt into the postseason. Siakam was huge in the finals and throughout the playoffs. So, yeah, I'll have Toronto at 5. I got the Warriors then at 4. I believe, I could be wrong, but I'll double check. I believe Murray was out in that first round against Denver, but they handled their business. They beat Memphis and Ja and those boys in the second round. Then they obviously handled their business against Dallas, where Wiggins was crucial on the defensive end. Who will forget that dunk he had on Luka? And then they handled business against Boston. Draymond said it best. At that time we let Tatum live with the jump shot because him going downhill was hard to stop, and we're gonna let you shoot. And he did just that. Him and Brown had a bad finals, turnover wise too, also, and the Warriors handled their business. So I'll have them at 4. So that's my bottom half. At 3 was tough. I have Denver, Boston, and the Lakers. I'm gonna probably go Denver at 3, considering Miami was a great team. We all know they were the 8th seed, but they weren't really an 8th seeded team based on how the roster was and everything. But their road to the finals was pretty solid. But that team defensively, and the way the run Jokic was on, it was like crazy. So I have them at 3. 2, I'm gonna go Celtics at 2. Obviously, I think they're the most dominant team out of the 6 based on offense and defense. But I'm looking at the degree of difficulty. I think the Lakers 2020 bubble championship gets very underappreciated. It's very difficult to win a championship that way, especially with no fans. You can't even leave. You have to be stuck in your dorm with the whole COVID and everything like that. To be locked in the way they were, to go out and win that championship. Plus, people forget, before the shutdown, they were a top 3 seed in the West, top 4 seed in the West. LeBron was leading the league in assists. He was probably going to win MVP that year before the shutdown. That team defensively was one of the best defensive teams that season, if not the best, where you had AD, McGee, Dwight, KCP, Braun, Rondo, Caruso. Like they had a little squad. I think if they keep that squad together, they probably win another one. Not back to back, but probably within the next 2 years or so. So I'll put them at 1 as if I had to rank the team. Mostly because I give them the edge because of the degree of difficulty.
I think even
fans is like ridiculous.
Even without the bubble, I thought the Lakers, like just how they were constructed, would have won the finals.
And you see how that game winner AD hit against the Nuggets in the conference finals, and that was one of the few series where you seen this was before Jokic really hit his real prime, but that was one of the few series where you seen like you put multiple bigs at Jokic, and it kind of rattled him a bit. So, with all that being said, AD was on another level that year, so I'll put them at 1.
T-Top, you got
for me, I have 1 being the Celtics just because the way that team is built. I should have been a dynasty team. Sucks what happened this year, but I think it's a well-built team. Number 2, I have the Warriors. Actually, I have 2 Warriors just because for them to be able to come out and beat us, I think we were destined to win that year too. But things happen. I don't think we had mental fortitude. It's all good. Warriors were a more experienced team. They got that, so I give them number 2 just for beating us. 3, I agree. Lakers. I have Lakers is 3 now because that bubble thing plays a big factor. And they were well constructed too. Yeah.
What's up with Steve Kerr just beating up on Ime Udoka's teams, man? Celtics and the Rockets. I'm getting tired of that, man.
Sometimes people just have other people's numbers,
Yeah, man. For sure. 4, I got Nuggets. I believe Jokic. I mean, he's going to be MVP in the MVP talks for a while, but I give it to them for last year winning that. 5 is the Bucks, and then 6 is Raptors for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the Bucks and the Raptors.
It's 5 and 6.
Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty. If I was to put those 5 teams, and I do agree that Raptors team defensively was, I think it like Warriors and Raptors, those 2 teams, 2022 and 2019, like that's a nice series. When we talk about the Nuggets, the Celtics, the Lakers, I don't think that those teams had good enough bigs to try to like compare them to the Lakers, the Nuggets, the Celtics. Just that stretching the floor aspect of those 3 teams' games, where I feel like the Rockets and Bucks would have maybe struggled at if they was to play. Clips, you got your 6?
So at 6, to be honest, sounds crazy. I'm going Denver. Just solely off of me personally, I just feel like they beat Miami 4-1, and I just feel like Miami just was like that was just one of them finals that was just.
I went 5 games. Damn, I forgot. I thought it was a sweep.
It was supposed to be a sweep.
Yeah,
they were gassed. Miami was gassed out.
Miami was gassed. So I love Denver's roster. I just the fact that Miami was just so gassed, like, kind of just took it from me. Then I'm gonna go Toronto. Just because to y'all point, they beat Golden State in 6 with Kawhi and all them boys. That was a great team. The Warriors just had injuries, so I don't want to tax it that much, but I mean, playing a boxer 1 against Steph and nobody else is kind of, kind of sewed that up. Then after that, I'll go with the bubble, just because to me personally, even though it was hard playing in the bubble, I just don't think Miami was supposed to be in that finals. I really believe Boston was supposed to win, but shit happens. That big block that Bam had on Tatum and shit. But
yeah, my boy's been battle tested, huh? Shout out to Garden Boys.
Yeah, so I got the Lakers there. Then I'm gonna go.
Yeah, Warriors. I think left and
I got Warriors, Boston, and Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Why do you think Milwaukee's won?
Nah, I don't got Milwaukee one. I got.
Oh, my bad.
Those are the three teams.
I got Milwaukee next, just because they beat on the Suns. I mean, the Suns was hot, but
they were the damn good. Hey, to your point, Clips. Any other team in the finals, Phoenix wins. I'm not gonna lie.
like they beat the like for Giannis to get hurt
that year.
Yeah.
Well, besides Brooklyn,
Yeah,
Brooklyn probably would have beat Phoenix.
Phoenix would have beat everybody else. They was really on fire for Giannis to get hurt, come back, and play the way he did, block Ayton's alley, I think, or something like that. It was that finals was just crazy.
Took that man's food. Said,
yeah,
give me a lunch pill.
And
you
then
and Monty Williams.
I got Boston next, just because y'all whooped on Dallas. Like I just feel like when you sit down and I sit down and look at both rosters and shit, I was just like Boston was just like head and heels above.
Yeah, the personnel was like second.
Huh?
See, I think
the personnel was just like
head and shoulders above.
Like Joe Mazzulla playing Drew Holiday in the dunker spot was like.
Yeah. But just to see how it all played out, I think is what really was kind of like amazing to see Jaylen Brown, like the way he was guarding Luka and Kyrie, like all postseason, like Kyrie and Luka was getting that shit off. And
and then they get to the finals, and then just that just to swap everything, have Drew guard the big, that defensive scheme for Dallas was smart. So I got Boston at 2, and obviously I'm gonna be Golden State at 1, just because.
Because at least you're being true to your bias.
Just for one reason only. Once we got to the finals, we were not favored to win. It was like 85-15 favorite Boston, and I just felt like it's like, damn, like that's what
was smoking.
Just even the whole postseason for them run, like they was just manhandling every situation that came across their way. And when they got to the Celtics, it was just kind of like, just like you said, Musa, like, give me that food off your plate. Let me snatch that up.
Right.
We've been here before. We're experienced. So y'all,
you haven't been here before. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, we're gonna take advantage of that.
Man, just
let's show you how we do this.
The way Golden State played with that swagger and that finals. Shout out Jordan Poole. Unfortunate situation what happened after, but they just they played that was next man up for me. Clay had a bad series. Jordan Poole stepped up. We saw what Wiggs could be like if he was to like really lock in every game. Like it was a beautiful thing.
Andrew Wiggins we have ever seen from both sides of the ball.
So
fuck them.
$1 there to help.
Like fuck Wiggins.
We went from Wiggins guarding Luka in that Western Conference amazingly to him going into the finals guarding Tatum and JB just as great. So
with Draymond too. So
I got Steph, and Steph telling them boys, y'all won 2 games, y'all better enjoy this because y'all ain't winning no more. That's a goat way to end the ring.
That's a good way to go out.
I believe, man. Me and Clips talk about this always off camera. I always said if Tatum and because White was there too, if Tatum and Brown more so just had a different mentality going into that because they haven't been there, I think it would have been a different series. Probably would have went 7, honestly. Warriors probably still win either way. I'm also going to be biased and go with the Garden Boys, but
we were nervous too. The turnovers, that's when Jaylen Brown left hand was like non-existent.
We finally got to the dance and forgot how to dance. We was all rhythm.
Yeah.
So, but the growing pains, right?
I blame Ime for that.
But yeah, you could blame Ime for the scheme and stuff. But at the end of the day, man, when you have your 2 best players leading in the playoffs and turnovers,
that's true. That's true. But you also telling your players to play drop coverage on Steph, and that don't work either.
So, yeah, that too. Because you remember, I think it was when we had home court, game 1. No, it was Ghost had game 1, so it was game 3. Ghost had home court. Game 3, I put in the group chat. I was like, Why the hell are they having Horford play drop on a pick and roll against Curry?
They were
I will
scoping
never forget sending
Horford.
that text because I was like, "Yo, what are we doing?"
Just kept.
They were
doing it.
hunting for Horford.
Yeah, man. And like I
Oh,
said,
and
credit to the
Robert
Warriors,
Williams,
man.
too.
I want us to get our get back, but more so, obviously,
Hey, they had to.
present day. I just want us to be healthy, man.
They had to go through the experience and get knocked down on their ass a couple of times before they could finally get one. So I'm just glad that they actually got one. Whatever the Celtics decide to do during the offseason, if they do split off of the big two, I know they got to make a lot of moves. I'm just happy that Tatum and Brown got at least.
Yeah, they're gonna have to.
Right.
They're gonna have to move Drew and probably Porzingis. I feel like White, Brown, and Tatum's untouchable because they're just over the cap. I mean, to be fair, they can keep this team together for one more season, but the new owners are gonna have to pay with the new CBA finally kicking in next year. They're gonna have to pay like almost 500 something million.
Yeah, and they not coming in.
And they're already at
What's the point if
450.
Tatum is injured for most of it?
And
It sucks
and
because
we
this
don't
team.
know yet, and I don't know if we ever will know because they might keep it on the wraps. You don't know the situation from Brown and the meniscus. Then you don't know if he's gonna actually need the surgery or not because he played throughout the playoffs with that meniscus tear. And us being athletes and someone that actually played with a torn meniscus, it is not easy. You have to have a certain mentality to play, especially playing at that elite level. So it also depends on whether the tear is on the inside or the outside of the knee. Because
You think
it might be harder to play with an
you
outside
think-
knee torn meniscus.
You think they compete next year?
It's hard to say now. Also, I think they'll be in the mix.
The
But-
Celtics?
Yeah, I think they'll be in the mix, but it's hard to say considering we don't know the status of Brown yet, and you're also gonna have to move off of Drew and put in either Drew or KP or both. You might even have to move off of Hauser too, depending on how you can get the deal done. Because his contract is kind of weird what they have in the contract writing based on his how it'll hurt the cap for the Celtics. So yeah, it'll be hard to say, but I think we'll be in the mix. But
Yeah.
I think Detroit's gonna be better. Indiana's gonna be better. I hope Philly. I'm just praying for a healthy Embiid season because I think people obviously I'm hard on Embiid and other players that's at that caliber, but people forget a healthy Embiid is a top 3 player in the NBA.
Yeah, but I just think
I'm
when
hoping he's
it
healthy.
when it comes to them, just like you said, I think it's just really with health. I think it really matters about the others around them, and I'm not really
Philly
worried
about-
about. I'm not with Philly. I'm not really
Yeah.
worried about Tyrese Maxey. But if Paul George is not
I'm
gonna
snoozing.
if Paul George is not gonna give you anything, get off of it. Just get off of it now.
They can't because of the contract. They only don't want to take that money.
He just got it. He just got that contract.
For me, with Paul George, because I expect and pray that Embiid's healthy, and I won't hop on this long time. We're gonna wrapping up.
Podcast P.
If Embiid's healthy, all I need Paul George is to give me anything between at this point in his career, give me at least at minimum 20. Because and the reason being, look, I know we paid all this money, the cap, all this good stuff. You're gonna be our third guy. I'm fully investing in Maxey and Embiid. Plus, you're gonna have Jared McCain, who people forget about, who he would have been rookie of the year this year if he didn't get hurt. He's balling. I believe with that tandem and how the East is, if they can get another wing, maybe if they could keep Oubre just for defensive purposes for the wing, I think they have a great shot because Maxey gonna get 25 to 26 a night.
But just like you were saying with him and Embiid, if they're healthy, then you have Oubre, then you have McCain coming up and stuff. I don't think Paul George, and not even with the Clippers really, because it was still him and Harden. But I don't think Paul George ever is experienced enough to be in a setting like this where he could still give you something like 20 points a game, but then kind of fall back to 2 or 3 other players.
Well,
16 to 20. He got to give 16 to 20. You know what I mean?
Well, 16 too low, I think. But luckily, considering what they went through this year, to your point, Pacer, I think that's going to help him kind of go that way because he's at the point in his career. He doesn't have to be the Paul George of OKC or Indiana. He doesn't have to be that. Considering Embiid's usage, and then the emergence of Maxey, I think Maxey's going to play himself back into the all-star maybe even All-NBA third team, depending on how they finish record-wise, because he's going to put up 25 to 26. I think Maxi's going to be that one of those guards that people forgot about because of how this year went. Because he averaged 26, I think, this year, but I didn't put him in those conversations because of how the team was. But I think they're going to be just fine. I don't know what the hell's going on with Milwaukee, so that's a question mark too, especially with Dame. I think Dame might be expected to make recovery on time, maybe a month or so after the season starts with his Achilles tear.
Oh yeah,
but they need, if anyone needs to move off of somebody, Milwaukee need to move off of Kyle Kuzma. I'll tell you that much. They should have just kept Middleton.
Wasn't you vouching about that? Saying that it might work
potentially because he can spot up.
I didn't like that move at all.
By all means, yeah, I vouch for him possibly working because he can be in a winning environment, and he don't have to do he don't have to do what he did in Washington. Because what he did in Washington, he don't need to do that at all no more. But considering how it played out, like by all means, I still would wish they would have kept Middleton, honestly, because at least Middleton can be another ball playmaker, especially when Dame went down. You needed another person to run that offense. And Middleton, he's a step slow, but he can still facilitate the offense, get people in their spots, and he can still knock down a mid-range shot and be more reliable than what Kuzma showed him. But Kuzma is the offseason. You got a chance to a beautiful thing about the NBA, especially in the right situation to get the minutes, you go ahead and redeem yourself and prove people why we should not be doubting you. But boy, Kuzma, you got Mount Everest to climb up, boy. Because I'm telling you right now, it's a mountain you got to climb up before we can talk good about you.
Facts.
Yeah, man, that's pretty much it, man. We're gonna wrap up today's show. I know we got a game tonight, real quick. I think
let's go Indy. Let's go Indy.
Indy clip. So
I don't want to hear you talk about being a Celtics fan. This man got a Pacers hat.
I'm from New York. Y'all know I'm an NBA fanatic. I got mad NBA hats.
He got every single franchise's hat.
Almost every team.
Actually, T-Top, I did not know you had that much like NBA memorabilia. So
he has every single hat.
If that wasn't orange and it was black, I'd have liked that. I like that cream.
He's like another Mike, bro. He got everything.
I knew you guys were gonna get on me. That's why I brought a couple.
Get a hat to Ace if they come back and win.
That is fire. Yeah, you can keep going for days.
Oh no, hide that one. Hide that one. The brim is nice, but too much cream on that one.
Pesos for you.
There we go. See, we can keep going for days.
Hey man.
Hey, you know what hat you need to bring out, boy?
The war.
Which one? No. Oh shit! I left that in the room.
Yeah, you're a hater.
Because I was like, yo, he got every hat and
come on, man.
Hey, real quick, Pacer. It's nothing's gonna be set in stone and finalized, but are we gonna revisit doing like a top 50 player list at the end of the season?
Oh, yeah.
Just for this season, we'll make it clear. If we do a top 50 ranking, everyone has their own 50. It is this season. You talk about what they did last year or their career this season. So obviously, like the Embiids won't make it. Tatum will still make it. Considering
25-26 season. You talking about 25-26 season?
This season, yeah.
Tatum will still make the list considering what the injury was, but yeah.
We include in playoffs?
The entire season. That includes the playoffs, yeah.
We're gonna have to put
at least that's what I do with my criteria. I look at the individual player and their skill set. I factor in what their team was able to accomplish. But that's more on the bad. The team accomplishment is more so the net tiebreaker for like the elite players. Like I'm not gonna do that for Tyrese Maxey. Because like I know the team to get consider the team context and all that, you were still balling out. But I'm not gonna tax you too crazy because we know what there was with your team. Same with LaMelo. Like obviously LaMelo will be on my list, but we know how that works.
We all know what's his name over there from Houston ain't gonna be in the top 10 next time Lou on this show.
Oh, Jalen Green.
Oh
hey, remember I brought that question up about Cade, LaMelo, and Tyrese. How I will take Tyrese, bench Cade, and cut LaMelo. Regardless of how this supposed to turns out.
But we out of here. We out of here, fellas. Everybody tuning in, man. We thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for just catching another episode with us of the Grade A Show.
We back tomorrow with the Grade A Wrestling. So stay tuned for that.
Make sure y'all tune into that. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the game tonight. And blessings to y'all. Peace.
Brady 8. Hey, run that thing up.